lovely good morning to you, and welcome to today's edition of Chatback right here on Radio Christian Voice. My name is Angel Kasabo, and always great to know that you are tuned in this morning. A reminder that this conversation is live on Facebook. You go to your Facebook and search for RCV News. RCV News is a platform where we post everything current affairs, so come through and let's get interactive. RCV News. In case you haven't liked that page, you're missing out on so much. Make sure you do get interactive, like the page, share the page, invite people to also like the page. The number is 0956 200 490. 0956 200 490. That's the number that you can use for your contributions and questions. This morning, we get back in as far as current affairs is concerned, and we do have an interesting conversation altogether. So this morning we are discussing national matters. Now, for my guest this morning, in politics or in national politics, he served as, of course, he wears so many hats, but he served as Secretary General of the Patriotic Front PF and was appointed Minister of Justice in 2012 under President Michael Sata. After, of course, his dismissal from these positions in 2014, he left the Patriotic Front and went on to found the Rainbow Party, now known as the Economic Front, where he continues to be a leading figure advocating for social and political change in Zambia. Known for his outspoken style and deep legal knowledge, our guest this morning, Mr. Wynter Kabimba, has been a distinctive voice in Zambian political life for many, many years. So our guest this morning is the president of the Economic Front, Mr. Wynter Kabimba. He is with us to look at these important national issues. Mr. President, good morning and welcome to Chatback.
Thank you, Angel. Good morning, dear listeners.
Mr. President, great to always have you on this platform. How is 2026 going for you?
So far, so good, Angel, and thanks for inviting me to join you in this very important program. I haven't been to Radio Christian Voice in a while, but thank you for having extended this invitation to us.
Most definitely, and thank you so much for getting back to us with regards to inviting you to come over here.
Yeah.
Let's start with your political party, the Economic Front. And I'll start with some criticism that has come through from some sections of society. They say they have seen you on radio stations, from one radio station to the other. They have seen you on the tele. They see you on social media and the work that you do. But they're a little bit concerned on the state of your political party. And they say perhaps maybe this is a one-man show political party, because all we get from the president is solutions, this and this. We've never really heard him talk about structures. We've never really heard him talk about, his political party participating in by-elections. Is it true that your political party, as things stand, is a one-man show, as others would put it?
I don't know what that means. I hear these stigmas, for want of a better term, of Nashala Neka Party, one man party, like you say, and I wish I knew the real definition, of that, because you know that even just to register a political party as a society, you need a minimum of 10 people. So how can 10 people be one? We participated in the 2016 presidential and general elections. And you know that to register or to file your nominations, I think it's a better way, to file your nominations as a presidential candidate, you must have at least 100 supporters, registered voters in each province. So for the 10 provinces, you need at least 1,000 people. Now, where do you get those 1,000 people if you are so-called the National Neka Party? if you are just a one-man party, where do you get those registered voters, 1,000 of them, 100 in a province? So I think the language must change, and this is my emphasis about our country, that we must be positive in the language. We must be supportive of each other, so that those that have taken it upon themselves, Angel, to prosecute the national agenda of this country must be given the due respect. They must be given the due support, because it is the aggregate of everybody in society, whatever little that we are doing, that builds a nation. You know, why is it that that kind of stigma is not applied to churches? Why? You have churches today that are owned by a husband and wife. A church, okay, it's owned by a husband and wife. Why are they not called the Nashara Neka Church? They're still given the due respect that they are sanctuaries of God. You see, but when it comes to politics, people must use all sorts of. I think what should happen is that let's prosecute national issues. Let's discuss national issues. Even assuming that I'm just alone, I'm still a citizen of this country, and I still have a contribution to make to my country in terms of the views that I express, in terms of the checks and balances that I provide to the government. So I've been urging my fellow citizens that we must change the language. Yes, we must criticize one another, but using language that is civil and language that is supportive of one another.
Supportive of one another. Other commentators, governance experts would say one of the roles of a political party, or perhaps why they exist, is to take part in democratic processes such as elections. Others would argue that, yes, we do get you, but since 2021, we've never seen the economic front participate in any of the by-elections. And now they start to question the existence of your political party. They get to such extremes because they're saying, look, we're not seeing any movements. We're not seeing any maneuvers to push in candidates to participate in these by-elections.
Yes. The participation in by-elections is just one form of democratic credentials that a political party should wear. Okay, we have participated in by-elections for your own information. We participated in one by-election in Mukushi. We participated in one by-election in Mongu in Western Province. So we have participated, again, this comes back, to the point I'm making, that if you want to raise questions about an organization, about individuals, get into history. Okay, don't blanket a statement which is half right and half wrong. Half wrong in the sense that you have not taken time yourself to get the facts. Okay, and I always say this, that what is the difference? Maybe people can tell me. What is the difference between a non-participation in a by-election, for example, and participating in a by-election, and you get 0 at this polling station, 0 at another polling station, 0 at another polling station? What is the difference? The difference lies in how practical you are as a political party, how practical your leadership is in the party. So where we see, for example, in the economic front, that we don't have enough support on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have strong structures on the ground. We are still not ready to participate in terms of selling our message because we are still building the party from the ground. There's no reason why we should make a decision as a political party to participate in that by-election. So it's a question of strategy.
Yeah.
But you see, some of our colleagues participate, they are not ready, they have nothing on the ground, and what do you hear them after the election? No, the election was rigged. We should have won. The ruling party, played the Mingala.
Others say it's better to try as opposed to staying away.
Yes, but
so the ones that get zero are saying, look, we're better off than the economic front because we are trying.
It's bad for the image of the party. It's bad for the image of the party. It's like a general in the army who goes into battle with 5 soldiers when he knows that the strength of the enemy is 2,000 soldiers. It's folly for that general to subject his troops to complete destruction and annihilation. Okay, and you can't say that it's better to fight with 5 soldiers against an army of 5,000 because the general says this is a war. Okay, in a war situation, what do? You retreat because you know the strength of your opponent.
Yeah.
So really, it depends on what strategy is appealable to you as a political party. Yes, like you say, we have heard these arguments that it's better to participate. It's better to participate as long as you don't cry foul at the end of that election. Okay? If you participate and you own up that you got 0 because you were not ready, that's good enough for me. That's honorable for me. But if you participate knowing that you are not ready and you get 0 and you claim that the election has been rigged in that particular ward or at parliamentary level, then it means your strategy is wrong.
Yeah, others also would argue with you that, Mr. President, your party, we can safely say, was formed in about, which year was this? 2014. This is 2026.
Yeah.
Don't you think the strategy for the party now should be going all out, guns blazing? You have been on the scene for quite a long time. You as leader of this political party, wealth of experience when it comes to politics. Don't you think that should be your strategy? All guns blazing, nothing to live.
Yes. But again, this is the strategy. What do you begin with? First, you begin by getting to radio programs such as this, TV programs such as this. This is a world of information. I don't have to physically be in Kalabo for the people of Kalabo to see me or to hear me. Okay? And I don't have to travel to Kalabo as an example if I know that the message hasn't reached that area. Because it's not possible for me to galvanize the Kalabo district with I can't remember the population there in 2-3 days that I'm going to be there. So what you do is you establish outposts of structures in those areas. Okay, I can tell you that we've got a very hardworking young man in Kalabo, for example. His name is Jonathan Kamuti. So I'm in touch with him, on a weekly basis. I'm in touch with the members there. So we've got an outpost. We've got the structures in that area. That's how you do it. So when you decide to go out, you are going out to first point of call is your structures. You don't get to a marketplace and you start addressing people there. That's not the strategy that I know. So the first thing that you do, you go and meet your structures. They give you a briefing about the strength or weakness of the party in the area. And then you give them certain messages which are confidential, which I can't release on a radio program such as this one. So I've done this job before and I think quite well. So I know exactly how a political party is mobilized on the ground. But I also tell you that I also tell you this, that many a time, people think that the crowd that you meet when you arrive in a particular place is evidence of your political party in that area, which is wrong. And that's why some political parties have been disappointed. Okay, they go into Chawama, for example, and have these multitudes of people as they are going around. The election, comes 2 at a polling station, 5 at a polling station as a result, Then they sit back and say, but where are the people, that we are following us? We had a huge crowd, the other day. We had a huge crowd, at that spot on the... It reminds me of the experience we had with Msasata. I think it was in 2008 during the Mwanawasa by-election, after the demise of President Mwanawasa. We had a huge rally in Kapiri. Huge. At Kapiri, there by the shops there. That even the Great North Road was closed. Okay? Huge rally. Probably 2,000 or 3,000 people there. When the election results came out, you know how many votes we got there? 700. Okay? 700. But we didn't say that that election was rigged. We said that PF was not on the ground in Kapiri. So we accepted the result. We reviewed our strategy. Okay? We owned up in terms of the work that we had done. So that is what you do. Politics requires a lot of courage. It's like a war. It's like a battle. And if you don't have courage, then you have a problem. But also, let me mention this, Angel, that a lot of political parties think that they have permanent members at grassroots level. That's not true. No political party in this country, including the UPND, which is in power, can claim to have permanent, stable membership on the ground.
Why do you say so?
What we have at grassroots level are rented supporters. They are rented for a particular purpose and for a particular occasion. Okay? If you went back to Chawama, let's take Chawama, for example, the recent by-election, or Kasama. 1 week after these elections, go and conduct another election there. You probably find that in Chawama, UPND would win in a space of 1 week, and UPND will probably lose in Kasama in a space of 1 week.
How about those people that we hear that they've been loyal to this political party for so many years?
That's a point I'm making, that there is no loyalty to a political party in this country, because after all, political parties in this country generally have no ideology. So you are loyal to who? You're either loyal to an individual, or you are loyal to a group of individuals in a political party, and that loyalty is dependent on many things. The politics that we see generally now, ethnicity is one of the grounds of loyalty. So I'm loyal to Angel Kasabo because he is my tribe's person. Now, that's not loyalty. That's ethnic identity. You and I, if we belong to the same tribe, I don't have to be loyal to you. You don't have to be loyal to me. What binds us, what creates the bond, is the ethnic identity which we share. Okay? So there is no loyalty, so to say. There is no ideological affiliation. Okay? Nobody says, I support this political party because it believes in capitalism. I support this, and I am also a capitalist. I believe that capitalism works. Nobody will say to you, I believe in this political party because it has left-wing programs, and I'm left-wing. myself. Okay?
Or socialism.
Yeah, socialism.
Yeah.
Okay? So when the Palestinian ambassador came for my birthday party at the Intercontinental on the 10th of January, I said to him in my speech that I have been a supporter of the Palestinian cause from the time when I was an undergraduate student at the University of Zambia, 1978. I've been a supporter of the Palestinian cause. Not now, because I'm doing politics. Not now, because I'm a member of the Economic Front. I believe that the Palestinians deserve a state. I believe that the Israelis deserve a state. I believe in the two-state solution. I believe that what is happening to the Palestinians, at the hands of the Americans and the Israelis is an injustice. I've carried those convictions over 40 years. Not now. So I'm faithful to that cause. I'm a loyal member to that cause. Why? Because the cause is defined. So that is the difference.
So when you look at the current political space, is it perhaps too late to engineer people to be loyal to ideas, ideologies?
That's a good question.
Or perhaps there is nothing on the market that is offering people to buy into that particular product.
Question. That's a good question, Angel. You can't build democracy in poverty. You can't. You can't build democracy, in the midst of illiteracy. You can't. So if you want to build democracy, you must promote literacy of the population so that the people are informed. They can make independent decisions. And also, people must be empowered economically. So, they must have, excuse me, they must be able to afford 3 square meals a day and sit back and make an independent decision which is not informed by
the tummy.
Good. So I hold this view very strongly that one of the setbacks of democracy in Africa, as imported, is poverty. I hold this view and very strongly that one of the hiccups of democracy in Africa is illiteracy. Okay? So, there the beginning lies. What we are doing now is all joking, it's all jokes. This is a joke in my view. This is mockery which cannot give us positive results in future to make this country better than it is today. Because the formula is wrong. It's like you are importing. It's like you are importing. What's the best example that I can give? It's like you are importing crocodile meat. Let me use this example. It's like you're importing crocodile meat from America to give it to the people in Wapula, for example, when you know that they don't eat crocodile meat. Okay? Mm-hmm. But the rules say that there's nothing wrong with importing crocodile meat into Zambia. So we have imported democracy in Zambia, in Africa, but without looking at its attendant pillars. The attendant pillars of democracy in the Western world is 1, literacy of the people, and 2, the strong economic foundations of those societies. We have the complete reverse in Africa. And that's why you can't find loyal and faithful supporters to a political party.
Does this also contribute to the leaders that we elect? Because I'm getting you very clearly. You are of the view that democracy works well when people are empowered and when there's high levels of literacy, because then people are able to choose a leader based on their ideas.
Yes.
When there is poverty and illiteracy, well, to some extent, and that's not to say that we are demeaning people.
No.
But people choose based on the tummies.
Yes.
We'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do that. So then where do we start to correct that you have said these are jokes? Where do we start to correct it?
You start from building the pillars.
Who builds the pillars?
The governments of the day, together with the people. You start first by building the pillars. If you go to a country like Cuba, for example, country that I seem to understand very well, and it's a third world country. One of the things that the Cubans decided to attack after the triumph of the revolution in January of 1959, their first enemy, which they identified, was illiteracy. Angel. They identified illiteracy as enemy number one. And today, Cuba has 100% literacy rate. 100% literacy rate. They went to Cuba under Chavez. They sent a Cuban group there to go and introduce a literacy program. They got secondary school students. They got university students during holidays to go out in villages. And within 2 years, Venezuela attained the 100% literacy rate. We are 61 years after independence. We still have almost 60% of the literacy rate in Zambia. Only 2% of the Zambians can read and speak English. And yet most of our programs, even those sponsored by the donors, are in English. HIV prevention programs are often conducted on TV in English. If I go to my area and I'm minister, I'm told, I can't speak to my people in my local language because the official language is English. So I'm addressing these people. I'm a local person there, and I must have an interpreter who is interpreting to them in the local language, even missing, some of the things that I'm saying. So the message doesn't land on fertile ground. These are practical problems for Africa and for Zambia, my country in particular. Okay? So first you start by building, and it's not impossible. I've given you the example of Cuba. I've given you the example of Venezuela, which has a larger population than Zambia as a population. Even in terms of landmass, Venezuela is a bigger country than
Do you also
Zambia.
think that that journey or that drive is going to fall on fertile ground with regards to carrying along the Zambians to say, we have noticed the problem, poverty and illiteracy, that we have to sort out? Do you think the Zambians are ready for such a conversation to say, we have to start correcting this? Let's work on the poverty levels and also the literacy levels.
Who would refuse, to be enlightened?
Others will say people now want quick fixes. They don't want a process.
No. You see, the first thing that you do to govern a country, to run a country, is to understand the mindset of your people. Okay? The mindset of your people, the attitudes of your people can actually be obstacles to development, or they can facilitate development. Okay, they can facilitate development. So you don't start them with you don't go to them and say, oh, we want you to start reading and writing so that you can vote properly. No. That message will be resisted. Okay? One of the things, this is a Christian voice platform. One of the things that the missionaries did very well when they came into Africa after 1885, after the Berlin Conference in Germany, one of the things that they did when they brought the Bible was to actually translate the Bible into the local language. Okay? That's what they did. So you can read the Bible today in Luvale, you can read the Bible today in Tonga, you can read the Bible today in Lunda, you can read the Bible in all the major local languages in Zambia. Tell me one book that you find in Zambia that you can find that is translated into all those languages. Zero. So they realized that we have to reduce our communication, our interaction with the newly converts by using their language. They didn't impose a language on the African or on the Zambian. They got into the mindset of the Zambian and said, we shall use your language, for you to understand what our project is and what our mission is. And then they use the Africans now to evangelize amongst their fellow Africans. So they created a second level of identity. First, language, and then secondly, physical and ethnic identity. They succeeded. So that's the approach that you take. Okay? From that parallel that I've given.
Yeah.
If the missionaries, Angel, had insisted that the Bible should remain in English, in West Africa, in Francophone countries, that the Bible should remain in French, they would not have achieved the number of converts which existed today.
When you look at fixing and changing this, of empowering the people and also ensuring that literacy levels, are improved.
Yeah.
And you said the one who has to fix that is the government of the day.
Yes, leadership.
Are you seeing that in the current political space in which we are in? Is the current government championing that cause from what you have seen?
No. There's no government. The only government that tried to do this was the Kaunda government.
So since then, you haven't seen any government, even in the one that you're in, the Patriotic Front.
I'm glad that I'm old enough.
At least in the Patriotic Front, you champion for more money in your pockets.
No.
Yeah.
That's, more money in your pockets does not build democracy. Okay, so even in the political front, even in the PF under Michael Sata, we still had it wrong. Okay, if Michael Sata had lived on, I think we are getting on to the right path. Because Michael Sata understood these dynamics. He understood these political variables. Okay? If you went back, you may not be, you are not as old as me, but if you went back to UNIP, you know what they used to do, Angel? They used to get the Times of Zambia, for example, and summarize it, the papers in a month. They summarize, the major articles, the ones that dealt with the lives of the people. Summarize those and put them into vernacular newsletters. They were actually, vernacular. The Tonga one was known as Intanda. The Loz one, I still remember, was known as the Liseri. I can't remember the Bemba one. But, and you know what, the reason why they did that? They distributed those newspapers through the Zambia Information Service. Why? To ensure that the people in the countryside, those that did not read English, could understand what the government in Lusaka was doing. What are the policies of the government, They didn't send the Times of Zambia copy in English. They condensed it into a local language newspaper. Because they understood that for you to deal with a fellow in Zambezi, for him to understand what the government is doing for him in Lusaka or her, get to them using the local language.
Yeah.
So the subsequent governments have all failed to date.
Mr. President,
and it's not their
don't
fault.
you think that perhaps with the current government, there's been a lot of emphasis on education? They've slid in the free education policy. Then when it comes to poverty alleviation, others will pat them on the back to say CDF is ensuring that the local communities are empowered in one way or the other. So don't you think on that score that perhaps they have tried?
Look, I don't have a quarrel with that. It's a context. It's a context. At the end of the day, what do you want to achieve?
So this system that they've implemented is not achieving...
It's not changing the mindset.
What you feel is... Okay.
Okay? It's not changing the mindset. You know? My submission is that a government that is going to succeed is one that will get into the mind, break into the mind of the people and change the mindset so that the people have a direction with a specific objective at the, or deliverable at the end.
And why do you also think past successive governments haven't done that? Is it that they've been not brave enough? Because if you are going to work on the mindset of the people, you have to be brave and say this is the right way to go.
There is failure to identify the problem.
Okay.
If you are going to solve the problem, first you must identify it. Okay? That's what the doctors do. They do a diagnosis to understand what the disease is in my body. And then after that, what do? They prescribe. So if you don't understand, my submissions, for example, that you can't build democracy on top of poverty. If you don't understand that you can't build democracy on the pillar of illiteracy, then you'll not find the solution. You'll not find the solution. Okay? So successive governments to date have failed to identify these two as a problem, as a hindrance to the development of democracy. Why? Because we are being told what democracy is from outsiders. Those that have developed democracy in conditions which are fundamentally different from ours. Okay? The environment for promoting and developing democracy in the United Kingdom is different from the Zambian environment. Okay? Mm-hmm. If you read the American history after the War of Independence in 1775.
Yes.
In 1775, they didn't import anything from the UK, from the British. They are colonial masters. They didn't import anything. Firstly, they built a government structure which was principally different from that of the British. Okay? They actually used the Roman model of having the House, of Representatives and the Senate. That was the Roman model. That's not the British model. You know what they also did? They stopped drinking tea. It reminded them of the British colonial system. They started drinking coffee. You know the next thing they did? They decided they are not going to drive on the left. They are going to start driving on the right. They didn't want to get reminded by anything British. Okay? So they decided to define their own, to contextualize, actually. They decided to contextualize their problems and then figure out what the path of development should be. What do we do here? We are taught by all these donors that democracy as it obtains in their countries is the best, and that is what should be applicable to Zambia. It's not their fault. They're saying, well, if you think it isn't, think for yourselves. Change it, mold it, so that it suits you. And what do? We don't have the patience and the capacity to think that this cannot be applicable to Zambia in the form that it is. Let's change it.
Yes.
That's a problem.
You have explained to us, and from where you sit, there's a wealth of experience in as far as politics is concerned. Brilliant ideas. But perhaps, Mr. President, you know that you can only live as much, just as everyone is going to live as much. And perhaps you have to pass on the baton to the younger generation. Yeah. But we have seen that the young generation has come with energy. They have come with vigor on this political scene. They have come to sit on the tables that you are seated on. From what you are seeing, what the young people are bringing to this political landscape, and the need for us to change the mindset of the Zambian people, are you confident that the current and upcoming young people in politics maybe can sort out this mindset issue that we currently have in the country that you feel is very important to change?
Look, Angel, all these are copycat projects. All these are copycat projects as far as I'm concerned. Okay? There was an election in the United States in 2024, the one that Trump won. Do you hear them, or even their midterm elections? Let me use this example. There are midterm elections coming up in I think November this year. Bring me back here again. If you are going to hear the issue of youths as a political demand, a political discourse, okay? Just listen. Watch, follow that election. Go to the UK and follow the election. If people are saying, oh no, but in the House of Commons you need youths, that in the House of Commons you need women, go to the American Congress or House of Representatives. Count if there is a 50% gender parity in America, a system which is over 250 years old. Okay? When Trump is running at the age of 79, are you telling me that there are no youths in America? They are there. Okay? But the guys that export these ideas to us, they don't practice them in their countries. They don't practice them in their countries. In New Zealand, when they elected the Jacinda Ardern, I remember, I think she was only 35.
Yeah, as Prime Minister, right?
As Prime Minister.
Yeah.
There was that Prime Minister, if you remember, another young lady in Finland, I think it was just something like 32. The one who resigned after she went to Kudisco, and Achidi Zakuja. And then there was an uproar, in the nation, and she resigned. Okay? These two were women. But they didn't become prime ministers because they are women. They became prime ministers because the people around them in the party, they said they could do the job. I didn't become town clerk myself for Kitwe at the age of 35 because I was a youth. I became town clerk for the city of Kitwe at the age of 35 because I was competent. I exhibited discipline. I exhibited leadership qualities at that stage. And then the system said, we think he can be,
So
not because of the youth.
So for you, it's competency.
Yes.
Even if someone is 21 and they can do the job, let them
Give
do
them
it.
the job.
Even if someone is 85 and they can do the job.
Yes. VJ Mwanga was the head of Zambian intelligence at the age of 21. Okay? In that system. Not because he was youth, because he was disciplined, because he was trained, and because merit said he should be.
So then what is your response to calls that have repeatedly been sounded? That let's give space to the youth on the table that you are seated on. If anything, perhaps they'll say that, Mr. President, you've done all you could. Now is the time for you to sit as an advisor and let the young people go on with the nation.
No.
Maybe let's try the young people.
Let me tell you, there will be a disaster.
Why? Because
the crop of youths that we have generally in this country has not gone through the mill. Okay? It has not gone through the mill. And that is important. I'll tell you what I said at one time about Uganda. There was an election in Uganda when Bobi Wine, was really a rising star. And I think he was only, 35 at that time. I think the first time we attempted. He was only 35. So here was my argument. I said, let's assume that Bobi Wine, I didn't Google him to find out his profile, whether he went up to secondary school or he went up to university. And I said, let's give him. Let's say he went up to secondary school, so he left secondary school maybe at the age of 20. Let's assume that he went to the university and he left the university at the age of 24, like I did. He's now 35. So 25, 25 to 30 is 5 years, plus 35, 10 years. Okay? And I said to myself, if you gave me a ballot, okay, I don't know what Bobi Wine has seen in 10 years to run a country like Uganda. And you're asking me, which pilot do you want to fly the plane to get you to Mars? Between Bobi Wine and Museveni. I said, how do you elect Museveni? Just common sense. What has Bobi Wine seen in 10 years that you can entrust him with a country like Uganda to run? Or in the name of being a youth? What has he seen? Let's be real about this thing. This is about life. This is about, human beings. Okay?
The argument there is also, let's bring back to why you've recognized that there's a problem.
Yes.
And you said that even successive governments haven't rectified this. And when we do a head count of all them leaders that we've had, we're comfortably saying all them leaders have been above 50. So we're saying, fine, if all these governments have failed, perhaps maybe let's try the younger ones. Maybe they are the ones that have the solution. So this argument is not that this one is young. They're saying, let's try something different.
Look, you don't try life. You don't dare life. Okay? If you and I are at the airport, Angel, and we are getting on a plane, and someone comes to you and I and says, Mr. Kasama and Mr. Kabimba, there are two pilots seated out there. One is 75 years old. He has 15,000 hours of flying. The other one is 25 years old. He has 2,000 hours of flying. He has never flown a plane to New York, but the Madala has flown to New York many times. And he says to
Mr. President, you're being biased to
No.
Let
me finish my argument.
You're being very biased to him.
No. Let me finish the argument. And then he says, which pilot do you want to take you to? Angel, are you and me going to say, let's try the young one. Let's see if he can. Would that be our judgment? No. Our judgment would be, I think, Mudara amene uyu atipeleke. Uyu aimbekeze festi until he reaches maybe 10,000 flying hours. That's what we would say.
Yeah. But also when it comes to the political scene, we would say that it's a little bit different because that 75 is still going to be around, but is going to advise. On the flight, perhaps maybe that 75-year-old is not going to be. But when it comes to politics, we have the likes of you. We can ring you. We can come to your house to say, okay, Mr. President, we are stuck as youths. Perhaps give us this advice, or what do you think on this matter?
Okay. Let me tell you a difference in attitude. When I was growing up myself, we looked up to the people that were older than us. Even when I started working, I found my supervisors there. Some of them less educated than me when I joined Lusaka City Council. Okay? But I submitted myself to them to learn from them. I used their knowledge and their experience to build on to the knowledge I had from the University of Zambia. Many of the youths today, and I'm not saying everybody, but I think the majority, don't think they can learn from anybody. They don't think they can learn from anybody. They think that if they are 40 and I'm 70, they think that the 30 years difference means nothing to them. I've just been going to sleep and waking up, and I've seen nothing. My father used to tell us, I'm your father. You can go out there and get degrees, but you still not beat me in terms of what I have seen before you were born, even after you were born. And he was right. So the youths that are going to succeed, are those that are going to take the approach of mentorship. Those that will deliberately say, I'm young and I need to be mentored. Deliberate and conscious decision. The ones that are going to have it wrong are those that think that I'm 30, but I'm the same as somebody who is 80. Those will get it wrong.
So do you think
Zambia that will be my piece of advice to the youth.
So do you think Zambia is ready for a youth for president?
We've already given examples of Jacinda Ardern and the young lady in Finland. I can't remember her name. They were youths. They became prime ministers of two developed countries, New Zealand and Finland. Okay? And you know how prime ministers are elected. They're elected, by a party that wins the election. Not in the system of first past the post. So if you want, it's actually your colleagues in the party that look around and say, guys, we have won an election. Indana Zankara Prime Minister. And because you know each other personally, at personal level, okay? Then we pick on you. Angel Kasaba will be our leader. Nobody says, how old is he? But because we know you within the group, and we have confidence that you can lead us. Okay? When Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister, they had a convention. And at that convention of the Conservative Party, in the evening, they sat around and they were looking for who could be Prime Minister in the event that they won an election against the Labour Party. Mrs. Thatcher had gone to bed. She left the other colleagues behind. I've read her biography. Then they started interrogating this issue of the leadership of the party. And somebody said, there's somebody who is not here who should be here. for us to conclude this discussion. Tashota pano. So they said, who? They said Mrs. Thatcher. So they sent for her, and she came and joined them. And they said, we've looked around in our midst here, and we think that in the event that we win this coming election, you should be the Prime Minister. They didn't pick on her because she was a woman. They picked on her because of merit and what they saw as competency in her as a shadow minister.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So for you, it's all about competence.
Yes, competence and merit. So this issue of gender, this issue of youths, I don't hear it in developed countries. Why is it only special for our country? 50%, parity. Rwanda has achieved it. Is Rwanda any better than Ghana, which has not achieved that 50% parity? Is Rwanda any better than Tanzania? Is Rwanda any better than any European country that has not achieved the 50% gender parity, in government? Is it any better? So what is all this thing of copy cutting, issues? Rwanda has scored. Cuba has scored 100% literacy rate, 60%, more women. Is it more developed than America? The answer is no. Obviously no. So what is going to develop, a country is when we accept the correct yardsticks of measuring human beings. No tribe, no gender, no age, but purely merit and competency. I've given an example of Uncle VJ, here.
21.
At 21. He was our UN representative, I think about at 25 or somewhere there. Okay? Not because he was a youth.
Yeah.
Because Kaunda saw competence in him and merit to be part of the government of Zambia after independence.
In an event, we recognize someone who's, for instance, 20, well, maybe even 30, 34. And this person has the competency to be the vice president. As a country, the advice that should give us is go for it.
Yes. Yes. If the fellow is competent, meritorious, is disciplined, why should he not be my vice president? I'll give them my support.
Even president, right?
Even president.
Okay.
I'll give them my support.
All right. We'll have to start to get in calls very soon. But let me just get your school on the state of the opposition with regards to answering, democracy, how best it can work, poverty and literacy. And you look at the state of the current opposition that we have in the country, which you are part of.
Yes.
What do you make of the current state of the opposition? Because the current state of the opposition also, to some extent, makes democracy work. If there's these all brilliant ideas coming from the opposition and giving the Zambian people alternative, democracy can just be strong. What do you make of the current state of the opposition?
Look, the way we play our politics, in my view, and I think where we are drifting away from the positivity of the system, is this lack of dealing with ideas and dealing with personalities. Okay? Just listen to almost everybody in the opposition when they are addressing issues about this country.
Including yourself?
I said most.
Most.
So that excludes one or two plus myself. Their problem is HH as a person. Not even as president, but as a person. That's their problem. So remove HH, Zambia tomorrow will be a better country. And yet we removed Kaunda, Zambia was worse under MMD than it was under UNIP, in my view. We removed the MMD. Zambia was worse under PF than it was under MMD. So the issue is not the individual. The smearing campaign, the casting of aspersions, on a leader is not the politics that will develop this country. To make HH look like a monster is not what will develop the country, in my view. Okay? To be disrespectful to others is not what is going to make this country any better. Okay? So, let's deal with the policies of HH. That's what I deal with myself. I don't agree with the CDF.
Why don't you agree
with CDF? I don't agree. Let me just finish.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't agree with it in PF when I was minister. If you asked my colleagues that served with me in government that time, I didn't agree with the CDF. And my argument is simple, that if you got 40 million kwacha, which you are giving it to the constituency now, and gave it to the local authority, which has elected the representatives of the people, it will be more accountable than it is now. That's basically my argument as a local government practitioner. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't say that because I hate HH. I say that because I think the policy is not right. Okay? I read something. I don't know if you read something, on social media yesterday, where somebody was really insulting the president's son-in-law. Really insulting. I find that very sad. Firstly, you are doing that write-up and you remain anonymous. It means the fact that you remain anonymous means that you know that what you are saying is not true. Because if you know that what you are saying is true, come out and identify yourself, so that if you are talking about corruption, then you can help the investigating agencies in dealing with this issue. So you are simply being malicious against somebody who cannot identify you, and against somebody who cannot defend himself against your aspersions. This is where I've misunderstood what it means to be in the opposition. Okay? That's my answer.
The number is 0956 200 490, 0956 200 490. We've now opened the phone lines. You can call in for your contributions and questions on the number 0956 200 490. You can also send us a text message on that particular number, 0956 200 490. That's the number that you can ring the studio. Then also we do have quite a number of you watching on Facebook. Thank you so much. Let me just bring these comments a little bit closer to where I am. OJ, thank you so much. I can rest assure you that our tech department is working on it. Chita Luchongo says the older he gets, the wiser he becomes. I love this man.
Thank you, Chongo.
I don't know what he means. This could be a good compliment, Mr. President, but also it could mean so many things.
No. It just says the older he gets, the wiser he gets.
Patrick, Jerry, thank you so much. Emmanuel Mwanza, thank you so much. Kizi Nyendwa George from Livingstone. Great to know that you are following. Great to know that you are following us on Facebook. All right, let's get to the phone lines so that we get your questions and contributions this morning. Okay. You can call us back. Just set my phone line ready. Okay, hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Kalulushi.
From Kalulushi, your name again?
Lucas Stione.
Okay, Mr. Stione, go ahead with the contribution.
Ndipo chako Wynter Kabimba. Wynter Kabimba President Mabombeni.
Mkwai mshani Stione ku Kalulushi.
Mkwai kwela Wynter Kabimba premi konka mulela ndabwino sana.
Natotela.
Premi konka bwino sana na tumfisho mwacho utampa muyunipi kufika mwemwe mje kufika na yepo kufika na ino nsta.
Mkwai.
Kile umfisho mulela ndaba Wynter Kabimba. Twatotela konkanye nito kutambilishe chalo.
Natotela Stione.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Stione, calling us from Kalulushi. Hello, good morning. Yes, your name and where are you calling us from?
I'm calling you from Chongwe. My name is Elvis.
Elvis from Chongwe. Go ahead with the contribution.
Okay. Good morning, Council.
Good morning, thank you.
How are you? I always follow your objectivity on a number of national issues.
Mm-hmm.
To me, really, it has shown that we still have elders who can lead and show. And just literally in bringing up people who understand and appreciate leadership. I wish the current crop of leaders, political leaders, could take a leaf to what you've been trying to put across in most of your podcasts. You see now what it is. It's no longer about leadership.
Yeah.
It's all about mighty. Who is mightier? You know, it's like a chemical reaction, you know, where heavy metals, displace lighter metals.
Yes.
That's what it is. People just want to be there to show that they are mighty.
Yeah.
They can do it. And the biggest problem is we brought it ourselves. I'll tell you one thing. If I'm wrong, you control me. You know, the moment the Electoral Commission said aspiring leaders must declare their worth or their assets, that's where the problem began. Because when the current president declared his assets, the others, they saw that they were a bit behind in terms of wealth. And that's how now people with little minds, they thought power and wealth, they move together.
Yeah.
That's how now people started acquiring wealth. You see, and that has advantaged the nation. Because it's very painful, Council. We are sitting with this debt. And when all of us sit back and look back and say, where did the money go? We can't tell where all that money went.
Yes.
All that money went in people's pockets. Why? Because they were trying to catch up with one political leader who they perceived to be wealthier than them. So some of these laws that we come up with, they destroy us.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Elvis. We'll have to let you go.
I don't have much to say, but
Thank you, Elvis.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Hello, good morning. You are through to the program. Good morning. Your name and where you calling us from?
Vashi Precious Usakile Kitwe.
Vashi Precious Usakile Kitwe. Go ahead with the contribution.
Ndipo sala kateka bandi ba Wynter Kabimba.
Vashi Precious mulishani shami mfwako miaka yapo hapa. Nishi?
Ukuti kama pamukoshisa baba tuletera ila tutinyako.
Ndesa kukitwe, ndesa.
Ala mukashita wino.
Mkwai.
Mkwai. Tukamipoke nje na tulipoke na maboko ya bifi mwaleta kumula basawe swa reje chengero.
Na tote.
Mkwai. Kuno moku Mr. President mwale mfika. Kumbira base shapu sana ngani kuno kopa beuti mwale mfika ntu. Ocho mulanda. Twalisho kubati
fuma panshi ya mutu makai mwa ite mwa afwe Zambia atapo kuipusha mwa bati bushe 2026 tuingiemo bushe mwala imini na ngutamwa imini ne bushe mwala twaliro kusaba kukuba partner ba UPND because nati mwene fintu Mr. President na chirubana makamanga nga twatuye kuma icos ya fintu Mr. President stoku je mikuibiri na ngumo mshwalishuka sana mumone inkoko yatwaleshta kunwa bya mwali mu government twaleshta 45 na 70 kwacha inkoko nitiri 100 kwacha anga ni vile chicken yanatetu ule mtengo twaleshta kwa kabushi mtengo wa nkoko ile
yes
so Mr. President twapapata mwali kwateshu kanga kwate ubutungu sura ndengo fweka imini neni bakwela 2026 tukasobololendao na menshi ma UPND tatuweka bila again makakonkanye kutwapapa
thank you so much.
Amen so yesu na maka yesu yali bali imwe ba opposition ni ikatane na totera.
All right, thank you so much. Hello, good morning. You're through to the program. Yeah. Hello, good morning.
Hello, my brother.
Yes, your name and where you're calling us from? Yes, very quickly, Washimalan, go ahead with the contribution.
Ndivyo wino Washimalan.
Letsunga. President amekonka sana. Inaonyesha ni mumuli kwa opposition. Ombapo bwapya. Na dimuna mu bwapya mulimi. Bwakwe basi. Mailo mwateki mwatapota kwa UPND mwachinja hiyo ni kumamu. Tukatuisha bantu kumwaimina. Pero mwali kwa chama kwa mwatungula buni cyaro buni omba byo gutungura shukeni katuishinga nyinshi kamurayibwela mu omunene at least kile mgojo mutima wakwe bati kumwabombera abandi mwingiye kuposa kwa manu omunene cyayonse mureba ko cyayonse murelanda ukutera kwa mayiro mwando kwa yo na kuyenzi bamitangia kwa mwayoko so yo ine yewe problem but na kwa bati spectator mwali kwa tera muleka sokwe bati umuntu uyu kuti abentunguru ya manu so but imtekele wa UPND atitf
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your contribution, Washimalan. Mr. President, I'll allow you to respond to those concerns. Washi Precious also preempted one of my last questions on what the plan is for 2026. But let me allow you to come in.
Okay. I'll cover Washimalan and Washi Precious. I think they are
quite similar.
Very close. Yeah. Firstly, let me say this, which I've said many a time. Bashi Precious mumfuikishe sana na Washimalani. Mu 2024 twalilanda ati tulelanshanya na ba UPND okutira tukumane tubombele pamo mu UPND Alliance. Ukufuma mu 2024 ukufika ilelo ile ashiryo talilapwa mwamfwa takulili chipepa lecho tusaine na ba ifwe ba EF na ba UPND chakutila ati tulebombera pamo so ukumyasuka kwandi kwa kutila ba economic front bali palwabo tatuli mu UPND Alliance. Ifimulera ndaba Washimalani ati mwachitati lelo mwayoku awe ni misinformation yo mufumeko uko takule uko tuile tuli ba economic front pano ndelanda nga intungulushi ya economic front ndelanda kuli imwe abale kutika kumulabasa abalelanda ati ifyalelanda winter fyamano noma nga mwamfa kutira ifyo ndelanda fyamano mwebe kona bambi notu kuikala fyo Bashi Precious na Washimalani uko imbila hii ifuile mwaipela na bambi. So I think I've covered the two questions in the language that the two brothers I think understand very well.
Yeah. We had another one from Elvis. Do you remember Elvis's contribution?
Yes.
Chongwe.
Yes.
A quick reaction on that one.
I think Elvis was canvassing the issue of power and the insatiable appetite that comes with capitalism. Okay, Elvis's submission is this: that immediately we brought this piece of legislation of declaring assets. Everybody is in this competition now to outdo the other. Okay? And Elvis is right.
So you agree with him?
Yes, Elvis is right. And let me tell you why Elvis is right. I hope he's listening. Angel, if you went, and that's public information, you can actually get it from the Chief Justice's office. If you went and conducted a search there, and just find out how much of the assets, the value of the assets, an MP declared in 2021, for example, when they were MPs, and how much a minister appointed in 2021 declared, and you go back in 2022, because they have to declare every year, you will find that the value of the assets has doubled. In the third year, it has trebled. Meaning, these guys are becoming richer and richer every year. Now, I'll tell you this. One of the privileges that I've had in life is Michael Sata appointing me as Minister of Justice. Okay? Because I know how much the salary of a minister is. I know the attendant allowances for a minister. And I can tell you that the salary of the minister and all the attendant allowances cannot make you rich. So if you go into government, Angel, and you people that are listening, and you find that somebody is richer in government than they were before they went into government, there is something wrong that they have done. And the people that get richer, the people that build these mansions while in government, they have not obtained a mortgage from the Zambia National Building Society. They have no loan from the bank. But somehow, they are building a property, a house, which far outstrips their gratuity at Parliament for 5 years. That's not possible. But this does not just end with ministers and parliamentarians, even directors in government. Go to the building society today, they don't even have money to offer mortgages. So all these directors in government, some of these PSCs in government, some of the directors in government, let me not say all, some of the ministers in government, not only the UPND government, even the previous governments, where do they get the money from to build a house worth $1 million property when their total income is not even equivalent to $250,000? It means something is going wrong. Okay? These guys are predators. And Elvis says, if the UPND found a big hole in the government cash box, where is that money? Where did it go? Because we don't see the parallel development that you can relate, or that debt portfolio to what has happened in the country. I think that's Elvis's submission, and is 100% right. That, again, this is a system that we have imported, that capitalism is about competing in terms of consumption. There are people today that will tell you if they drink, They don't drink Mossy, they drink black label or green label whiskey. All that is to show that, look, I'm better than you. That's a capitalist system. Okay? But capitalism per se does not produce wealth. It's not. It's just a system anchored on the control of means of production by a few people. So, even when you listen to people, let me give myself an example. Not that I'm an angel, like your name, but let me give my example. When I was appointed Minister of Justice myself, I declined to move into a government house. One of the reasons was that I knew I could be fired any time because of the views that I hold. Okay? So when the PS came to me and said, "We want to go and show you the ministerial house that you should move into," I said no. When Mr. Sata asked me, I said, "No, I'm not moving into any government house." I refused. And yet there were colleagues of mine that left their houses, put them on rent, and moved into a government house. I declined. The only benefit that I came out with from government was the personal to hold a vehicle that I was allocated.
At least you were given housing allowance.
Yes. Yes. So I came out with one vehicle. And yet I hear there were people that were parking as many as 10 vehicles as ministers. Where did they get the money from? I couldn't afford to buy a vehicle myself from my salary as minister. I couldn't. So, the issue of leadership is central to the direction that this country takes in terms of development. Very central. The type of leaders that our people choose, like Barack Obama said, the leaders are just as good as the voters. So don't blame the leaders. Ndimo muba votera we. Bena ngutinkala nabo machechi, bena nibamu banja mwatu. Tibaziba ati aba simunga bapase nchito aba nikuponya mbeba mu kitechi mu bani ya kitechi butalabwa nyemo. You get a rat and throw it in a ground that ban, and you expect the rat to behave. Okay?
Yeah.
You want the lion to graze together, a hungry lion to graze together with your head of cattle, and you want to blame the lion when you find the head is short.
Yeah. Before we get to the next set of callers, last 3 calls, one of the questions that she Precious also asked was, are you running for presidency in August?
If you can campaign for me.
That's not an encouraging answer.
Yes,
Mr. President.
Yes, I don't impose myself on people. I believe that people. I've given you the example of Margaret Thatcher. It was friends that went to her and they said, "We think that you can lead us."
So far, have friends come to you to tell you that?
I'm waiting.
So far, friends haven't told you that.
Nobody has come
since February.
Yeah, but I know they will come. Not since February. We haven't ended February. But I know they will come. Yeah, and secondly...
Today is the 6th February.
And secondly, this is a matter. We have a central committee meeting, I think if I'm not mistaken, scheduled for next month. And this is one of the items on the agenda.
So for now, you are uncertain?
Yes. Because
do you want to run for presidency?
No, that's personalized politics that I'm talking about. Do I want? The question must be, does the PF political party that I belong to want me to run?
Does it want the EF?
EF. Or does it want somebody?
We see that PF is still in your blood.
Yeah, I grew up in PF and I enjoyed my politics.
What do you make of the current state of the PF?
I can't say
in 2 sentences.
Could it be PF manje?
Okay, so it's
don't
it's
even
done.
need even a sentence. There's no PF now.
Okay.
At least
okay.
the PF
So
that I know myself is not there, it's dead.
So if friends come to you and say, we want you to run for presidency, you're going to do it?
I'll run.
Okay.
If their wish, if it is their wish, it becomes my demand.
But don't you think by now you must have made up your mind?
No, I'm saying not me. It's not a personal decision. This must be a people's decision, and ideally it must be.
How are we going to hold you accountable if it's not a personal decision?
No, but who announce? We're a very disciplined party. Who announce?
Okay, we'll be waiting for that announcement.
Our announcement very public. Either way, we'll make it very public.
Yeah,
we owe it to the members of the economic front, and we owe it to the general public.
Okay, so and then the conversations that you said you're still having with the UPND are yet to iron out. Are those conversations still on the table, or
yes.
you've moved on? So there's a possibility that you may join the UPND alliance.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's get the last 3 calls on the number 0956 200 490. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very well. Your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Misha calling you from Ndoram Shilton, to be specific, Kabasunga voters.
Mishek, you only have 40 seconds because we've run out of time. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Therefore, I'm push up a question in State Council of Wynter Kabimba. Kulingana na human rights ya fumine report, relating the question, because if you nama opposition political parties bareta for complain still human rights mucharo chesu cha Zambia very favorable. For example, honorable aba shafuma nalabeshina abashirafuma but inshibari pusha sentence. Is that the way
I think he's talking about Honorable Nakachinda, I think.
I think Munia Zoro.
Okay,
thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your comment. Thank you so much. Let's squeeze in 2 last calls. Hello. Good morning. Yes, your name and where are you calling us from?
Mama Severe, Madam Severe from Solwezi.
Okay. Your name again? We didn't get it clear.
Mrs. Eunice Severe.
Okay. Mrs. Eunice Severe.
Yes. Go ahead with the contribution from Solwezi.
How are you, my dear, first of all?
Fine, Mrs. Severe. How are you?
Ndabira umuraka wanjika kwache bonse bomfwe.
Labireni.
Natota baresa. Wakabimba.
Mkwai.
Wakabimba ndekita address epo bali babo.
Mwane.
Natota fimbi nimuna mutoteni. Kabushuku bwarero baresa basuntu nabasuntu okuboko bangumfwa turabire murabire tesi mwumfwa na mutoteni.
Mkwai.
Abalero babana abo abalekta interview mwego kabafishu mwaisi babwino kubasambirista pari pamande bazednbc bari semta kwari interview yangi pamande just this week when I was talking about what you are talking to the nation.
Yes.
And I even said, I'm cancelling the nation as a freedom fighter.
Yes.
The only remaining, the long-living freedom fighter, 91, have entered the 92.
Very good.
So, my cancelling is just like, it can be just like you are talking to the nation, which the people of Zambia must take care of, critically for that matter.
Yes.
You see? When we compare, we take our unit, no take our from MMD to today.
Yes.
Ndabawufwa umukuru wari mu unit yarerabira bapose kwa mano.
Yes.
It's not a matter of politics, no. We are trying to help you build your nation, which we got freely and peacefully. So, Kabimba, when you hear people arguing you, ati namwe wapo mwatampira. Twakukita argue because turefwaya abwabali negishinga abarefwayo kutungurura Zambia muishira iwe irungene iringire umwana wa Zambia atese kurira po mairo.
Yes.
You see?
Okay.
Inaisho kwati icharo bambi barewumfwa ikiramba ikibemba nemitundu ya shara turomfwana shirefwayo kwati nde urufya nyamu kisungu atishimire yo. That time I was not educated.
Machita wino mayo.
Mwafyashi, thank you so much to Atotera Mkwai. Thank you so much for calling.
So akantu akondera ndanyaka. Mwakirabira abo abakira ipusha bakira ipusha. Mwakirabira pamurandu wa illiteracy.
Yes.
Illiteracy ereta poverty mucharo.
Good.
You see? Utemwe love for each other, for God is not there. And although we are being called Zambia as a Christian nation, love is never there because God is love. If
Okay.
God is love and He created you in His own image, but you are playing with love.
All right, we'll have to let you go. Thank you so much to you, our mother. Thank you so much. For a freedom fighter, we needed to. We accorded her more time. I know you don't like to discuss individuals, but I have an interesting question here from Brandon Moyo that says, what is your thoughts on the movement led by State Council John Sangwa? I know you have seen his maneuvers on the political scene, and Moyo would love you to say something when it comes to his movement. Morning wa Angel, morning wa Kateka. In my view, age comes with its own challenges. Biden at 80 he started forgetting things. On competency, I would rather have a competent young man than a competent old man. Traore is a good example. Secondly, CDF is a sheer waste of resources. Lastly, do you think the reduction of fuel prices, any load shedding is genuine, or because it is an election year? Raymond Chilufia, thank you so much. These are our last concerns, and you'll have to address them in about 4 minutes because we've run out of time.
So where do I start from?
I think Raymond Chilufia has really hit the nail on its head. He's saying he's of the view that he prefers a young, competent leader as opposed to an old, competent leader.
That's his opinion. I wouldn't have a quarrel with him. That's his opinion. And this is a democracy. I expressed my opinion. That's also his opinion. Let's get to the next one.
What are your thoughts on the movement led by State Council John Sango?
John has every constitutional right to do what he wants to do by way of his contribution to this nation. I don't even have to express an opinion over what he's doing because that is his constitutional right. Next.
Good morning, sir. In Zambia, we have weak opposition because those we thought will give checks and balances, they feed in the pocket of the party in power, which is government. So we know them. Weak opposition feeding in the pockets of the party in power.
You know, this is what I said at the beginning. This issue of language. Don't throw around the statements which you can't prove. Okay? I think what will help the country is for a man like that to say, you Wynter Kabimba, you could be a good leader, but I know you get paid money by UPND every month so much, and I can prove it to you that they are paying you. That would be a better statement in my view, than statements like that, because those that are in the opposition are feeding, from the pocket of the road. We have heard those things before. The challenge must be that look for leaders of integrity. I'm sure people, they are not finished. They're not finished. There must be others. If he is right, there must be others that are not being paid by UPND. So support those so that the opposition is strong. Okay? Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus, but the other disciples remained. They didn't start crying, oh no, but how come one of us has betrayed Jesus? No, they carried on with the work. So Zambians surprise me, by making blanket statements which they can't prove, but they want to come and project them as if they are true, as if they have substance. I think that is unfair. Okay? This is a democracy. If somebody decides to change their mind today from one political party to another political party, that is their right. They may be wrong, but that's what they think is right for themselves. So none of us should be judgmental about that. Okay? Why is it that somebody defecting from the economic front to another opposition political party has not been paid, but the person who leaves the economic front to go to UPND has been paid? Why? I get surprised myself. So let's deal. The piece of advice is let's deal with the issues. Let's deal with issues, and if you have evidence, don't be anonymous. Don't go to social media and say my name is George Grave, and then you write a statement. Just write your name. Be like me. If I have evidence against you, Angel, I'll say it. Okay? When Munia Zulu made that press briefing at Parliament, accusing 2 ministers of having received bribes, when I met the young man, I asked him, what is the evidence for that statement that you made? What is the evidence? And he even said, if you remember, I've got documents to prove this. Anti-Corruption Commission, they said to him, since you have the documents, please submit those documents to us so that we can make a follow-up over this matter. No, I can't give you the documents because I know that you are UPND affiliated. Okay. The matter goes to court. He has an opportunity now to produce those documents before an impartial tribunal called the Court of Law. He doesn't have the documents. Okay? But I asked you myself. I said, what is the evidence about what you said? And that's what Zambians, want.
Mr. President.
And you just want to send a message, which
let's get your
I don't think that is right.
Concluding remarks.
About what? About what you have said. You have said so many things.
Yeah, you're not giving us your concluding remarks?
No, I want to, if you allow me, I want to give 2 numbers here of my officials, if somebody wants to follow up this conversation.
Okay.
Because I know we can't exhaust everything. The first number that I want to give is for Robert Chikwelete, who is the vice president in the party. His number, ngati mulipa fupi na bopeni or pafoni, number yaba Chikwelete ni 0978 0975 185040 0975 185040. Isaac Sakanya is our provincial chairman for Lusaka. His number is 0971 734882. 734882. Isaac Sakanya. That's our provincial chairman for Lusaka. So if you want to follow up, this conversation, or you want to ask more questions about the economic front, please call those 2 numbers, and we'll be very happy to share more of our ideas, our manifesto, our ideas as a political party, and everything else. Otherwise, Angel, my concluding remarks. Thank you very much for having invited me to this Friday edition of your program. I can follow up, on your disclaimer, that the views expressed here are entirely mine and not those of the Christian Voice. So don't blame Christian Voice for anything. Okay? But also, if what I said makes sense to you, credit that to me alone, not Christian Voice. So I think it must go both ways.
Councillor, thank you so much for coming through to have a conversation with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
This is where we come to the end of the program. Up next, to do have the news brief. Just after that, we get into today's edition of Lifestyle with Chipo. Good morning.